Today we're going to talk about 10 things that you didn't know about cars and bicycles. Now, I wanted to do this because what I'd like to do is have something interesting for car drivers, something interesting for bicyclists, and hopefully bring the two communities together. Okay, I love this first one. It's actually related to the DMV, the Department of Motor Vehicles. A motor vehicle is technically an electric vehicle. So, because electric vehicles use motors, and most of what we think of as cars, unless it's an electric car, has an engine which is gas-powered or combustion. So it's actually not a motor vehicle, it's actually engine vehicle. So when we say the Department of Motor Vehicles, theoretically we're talking about electric bicycles. Actually, literally we're talking about electric bicycles. We're actually not talking about cars. In the 1890s, everybody wanted to ride a bicycle. It was just becoming available and affordable to the masses. In fact, the bicycle it was even a turning point with women's rights. For the first time in history, women could go far distances without basically requiring a man to go with them. They had independence, they started to wear pants. Susan B. Anthony said, "I think bicycling has done more to emancipate women than anything else in the world." Okay, number 2 thing you didn't know about cars and bicycles. People have no idea how much it costs to create parking spaces for automobiles. The average empty open parking space costs the taxpayers $5,000 to $10,000 per space. That's just in construction costs. That's not anything to do with leasing or using up the real estate, which could be used for something else. Space in a parking structure costs taxpayers up to $50,000 per space just for construction. Okay, so the number 3 thing you didn't know about cars and bicycles, let's talk about autonomous vehicles. Sometimes they're called driverless cars or self-driving cars. We know, different companies already are having these put out, Tesla, Google, all these people. The first self-driving car was tested in a traffic jam in 1925 in New York City. In 1925, they had a radio-controlled autonomous vehicle that went through a traffic jam, safely navigated it, by the way. I think it went like up Broadway and down 5th or something. So a remote control car in 1925, I think that's pretty awesome. One thing that I think people don't ever consider is they never consider old self-driving cars and when they start having glitches. I never hear anyone address that. Okay, number 4 thing you didn't know about cars and bicycles. I love this statistic. The largest growing groups of bicyclists are not the 20-year-olds, not the teenagers or the kids, but 50 years of age and above. 50s, 60s, and 70s, 70-year-olds have quintupled and sextupled in number of bicycle trips being made. And I just think this is amazing. It just shows me and proves to me something I already knew, that bicycling is really something you can do at any age. There was a Frenchman at 102 years old. I think he went something like 17 kilometers in 1 hour, which is probably, I'm so bad at conversions, but it's probably something like 12 miles per hour, which is, that's pretty much how fast I go. So 100 plus years old, and this guy's going, as fast as I go. So that just shows you that, there's really no excuse not to ride a bicycle. Okay, so number 5 thing you didn't know about cars and bicycles, calorie intake. People think that, bicyclists are not as green because it takes a lot of fossil fuels to create the food that they consume. This only applies to really strenuous rides or training rides or things where you're really exerting yourself. Most casual bicyclists actually do not consume that many more calories, if any, than regular people, than car commuters. Of course, during that time, you're consuming a little bit more, but it's not really that much more. And second of all, people actually, most people consume more than they use anyway. You also have to realize that people often drive to the gym. Okay, so if you're driving to the gym and then you're using those machines, you're still burning as many calories as you would. And I would argue if you're going to the gym, you're actually working out more strenuously. 100 million bicycles are produced every year, compared to only about 40 million cars. Bicycles have always outproduced cars as far as numbers being created. And what's more is, even at the peak of cars in 1965, the two lines came very close to converging, but bicycles still had a little advantage, and after that, bicycles just skyrocketed in production. Again, we had the 70s, we had the oil crisis, everybody started bicycling again, and the number of bicycles just went through the roof, and bicyclists, to the point where now, today, There are more than 1 billion bicycles in the world and only about half that for cars. Okay, number 7 thing you didn't know about cars and bicycles. Actually, we're going to talk about horses now. So what is a horsepower? You hear the word horsepower, right? Well, 1 horsepower is about 746 watts. That is actually the number that a lot of these laws are using to limit electric bicycles. So electric bicycles are limited at 1 horsepower. So an electric bicycle equals a horse. Or does it? Actually, it does not, because the funny thing is, a horse is actually only 7/10 of 1 horsepower. Okay, I want to talk to you a little bit about energy costs. So number 8 thing you didn't know about cars and bicycles, the energy costs. Now, the reason why I wanted to bring this up, we spoke a little bit about calorie intake and all that, but a lot of people talk about the life cycle of a bicycle. What does it take to like build a bicycle, to build a car, and how does all that play into it? You know, maintenance and you know, supplies and all these things that are required. As far as CO2 emissions, including the entire life cycle per passenger, a car produces 271 grams of CO2 emissions. Again, that's per passenger. Now, for a bus, they produce 101 grams, and assuming there's 10 people per bus, 10 passengers per bus. So 271 for cars, 101 for bus, 21 grams for bicycle. That's including everything, construction, maintenance, the whole life cycle of the vehicle. The interesting thing is electric assist bicycles, that only raises to 22 grams. So it's actually almost as good for the environment to have an electric bicycle as a regular bicycle. I love it when people are, oh, you're cheating by getting an electric bicycle, and then they get in their car and drive away. So I encourage whatever you want to do for the environment, whether it's, you know, reduce your energy use, get on a bicycle, get an electric bicycle, you know, even taking a bus is better. So there you have it. It is green, even when you consider the entire life cycle of a bicycle. Most people that commute by bicycle that are really into it, that commute quite a bit, earn at least $5,000 a year just by commuting by bicycle, some even up to $7,000. The average American spends over $8,000 a year on car transportation costs. So that's spending $8,000 versus saving at least $5,000. And I know people say, well, I don't spend that much. Well, you're still buying parts, you're still spending money on gas and insurance and depreciation. So a Velomobile, what is that? It's a human-powered vehicle. These Velomobiles, they look like little cars. You take passengers, a lot of times, most of the time they have motors. Around World War I was the first Velomobile. A father was making a bicycle car for his son. He actually turned it into something that could be for adults too. And he started making Velomobiles. Now we're seeing a comeback because you'll see my Elf video, my Velomobile, and how much fun we were having with it, and how much fun people were having in it as passengers. Hope the car people learned something, and hope the bike people learned something. Again, I just really want to bring everyone together. Click subscribe, whether you're a car driver or a bicyclist. I'd love to have you. And feel free to watch some of my other videos and let me know what you think. Let me know what you want to see. And don't forget to thumbs up if you liked it and leave a comment. And I will see you next time. Thanks, everybody.